Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. Today I'm going to be reviewing WandaVision Episode 9, aptly titled The Series Finale. There will be massive spoilers ahead for the entire show, so please go ahead and watch that finale before you see this video. And I'm going to apologize in advance because I think that this is going to be a pretty long video and probably kind of ranty. Overall, I would rate the finale a 7 out of 10, maybe a 7.5 because 7 feels a little bit low. I was just really disappointed by some choices that they made. So I really want to break this down and analyze why I was disappointed, because it's not because of fan theories. Fans took the theories way too far, but I do think that there are legit disappointments for this show. So first, I want to talk about Wanda, of course. I think that this episode was the perfect conclusion to her character arc. I'm really glad that it ended with her accepting her grief and trying to move on. I think that that was really powerful, and while I did kind of want her to go insane at the loss of Vision and the children, I'm glad that they went with the more emotional storyline instead. That scene where she's saying goodbye to Vision is so sad, but it's so good because we love their relationship so much. I really love the callbacks to Age of Ultron, like when she mind controlled Agatha just like she did to Tony Stark. The level of power that she displayed in this finale was really impressive. I don't love how her magic's developing though. It's getting darker and kind of creepier, kind of with no explanation, because it's after the memories that Agatha showed her in 8, it's already darker. But I did love that she's using runes now, that in the end credit scene, she's using her hex balls, and she's sitting on a disc that's exactly like Doctor Strange's magic. I'll talk about that more in a second. But the other thing that I really have to talk about here is the Scarlet Witch suit. It's amazing. We have seen it teased in the poster, and then we did have that little tease in episode 8, but I really love this suit. I'm kind of glad it doesn't show as much cleavage as her old suits did, because I know that that was a problem for Elizabeth Olsen. I really love kind of the gaps around the neck. I'm very glad it's sleeveless. Love the elbow length gloves. I really like that they're fingerless too. I think that makes them even better. I wasn't sure about the waist cape part of it. I didn't like that in the Mind Stone tease, but I do like it a lot better on the actual suit. I think I'd still prefer a full cape, but obviously the biggest part of her suit is the headpiece. I don't love it. I think it's a little bit too short. The one in the Mind Stone was a lot bigger, and I think it looked better because with such big curly hair, it's just kind of awkward to have such a tiny headpiece. That's not a big deal though. I'm just glad that she finally has it. I also really liked the scene that she had with the townspeople in Westview. Again, it's just really disturbing what she's done to this people, and I'm glad that they were still acknowledging it at that point in the episode. I liked Vision quite a bit in this episode too. Like I said, their goodbye was such a good scene, and I love the family. You can really feel the love there. This show has done an incredible job of making us really root for him, Wanda, and the twins. Now, you can't really talk about Vision in this episode without talking about White Vision, and I did like White Vision quite a bit. However, he had way too little screen time. They shouldn't have introduced him so late if he was only going to show up for a couple of scenes, a quick fight, and then say, "I'm Vision," and fly out of the show. That was beyond stupid and a plot thread that just dropped out of nowhere, like a lot of other ones, which we'll touch on in a minute. But I was just really disappointed by that because I actually really liked him. Again, he was a very quick villain, but him and Agatha kind of being the two villains of the finale, even though they weren't working together, I thought that that was great. I liked his physical fight with Vision. It kind of felt like they were swimming through the air. I really like his design just because I love it when you have different colored stuff. Same thing with Superman in his black suit. I just really like stuff like that. But the scene in the library, the philosophical debate between Vision and White Vision, that was, again, just a top tier scene. It was really smart because you still got the physical fighting between them, but then you also have this philosophical fight. And I really liked that was the way that they kind of solved the problem of the two visions. However, again, it shouldn't have ended with him flying away, because if he has his memories back now, isn't he just regular Infinity War Vision? Shouldn't he be going to Wanda or something instead of just flying out of there with no explanation? So that did really bother me. I loved the twins in this episode. I am surprised that they didn't age up. This episode did feel late for them to age up, so I'm glad they didn't. I'm just kind of surprised they didn't throughout the show, age into teenagers. But the child actors are doing a fantastic job. I really liked seeing their powers, although I wish we got more of them because they were teased in episode 6, and then in this episode they're just like teased again. Like we got like 5 seconds of them using their powers. I really think we should have gotten like a little bit more of a fight between them and Sword. Seeing Billy like stop bullets though and like use like his mind control was fantastic though. Like I really love Billy's magic. I can't wait to see him join the Young Avengers. However, like them dying as kids and then like the child voices calling out to Wanda in the end credit scene makes me think that they might not age up. And I just have to say, I really hope that they don't use the age of the Young Avengers as an excuse for why Marvel's not introducing LGBT characters, because America Chavez is played by a 14-year-old. Billy and Tommy are both LGBT in the comics, and now it looks like they're sticking as 10-year-olds because the actors were spotted in London where Doctor Strange is filming. And so I really hope that they don't put these 10-year-olds on the Young Avengers team and use it as an excuse for why like Billy and Hulkling don't have a relationship, because I think that would just be really dirty for Marvel to do. However, again, circling back to that Wanda end credit scene, first of all, I love that scene. Like, it's so picturesque, and then having like the house and everything. I think that could be Wundagore Mountain. I think that's like where she trained in the comics, and I believe that there's some like demon living in the mountain that like possesses her. I can't keep comics straight. That would be a really interesting idea. I loved seeing her studying the Darkhold, although I do think that hints towards her being a villain. The twins calling out to her, though, I think that they're calling out to her through the multiverse, and she's going to try to pull them in, and then that'll kind of kickstart Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But, I mean, we're going to have to wait to see about that. Now, as for Agatha Harkness, she's an amazing villain. Kathryn Hahn does an incredible job portraying her, and I definitely think that she and Elizabeth Olsen deserve Emmy nominations and wins. Those two in particular. However, my problem with Agatha is that she's just a very poorly developed villain. Like, the heavy lifting is coming all from Kathryn Hahn's acting, and that really annoys me. She's really similar to Hela to me because they're both, like, female villains, obviously, like, huge female villains. They're both truly evil, unlike someone like Ghost, who's just, like, kind of a misunderstood antagonist. They're both played by amazing actresses. They both have great costume designs. And they both have really interesting backstories where, like, Hela was hinted at, like, with Odin and, like, her being his daughter and, like, leading the conquest. And then with Agatha being, like, a witch that used dark magic and killed her own coven. And, like, she has the Darkhold and everything, but we don't know anything about her at all. It seems like she just wanted Wanda's magic because she was like, oh, I'll take all your magic. But it's like, why? Like, we still don't know the why. We can guess that it's just because she wants to be the most powerful, but that's such a lame motivation. And then she had that great line with Wanda where she said, like, there'll always be torches and pitchforks for ladies like us, Wanda. And that's such an interesting sentiment, kind of reminiscent of the new Mulan movie, but that's really interesting. They just don't explore it at all. It's just like a throwaway line. And it's like, why don't you explore that idea instead of just being like, oh, I want your magic, give it to me? Like, that's just really lame to me. I do really love, like, the fight scenes were fantastic, though. I saw some people complaining about the CGI. I thought it was great, and I really love Wanda, like, using the runes against her. That was just really smart. I didn't even think about that, and her punishment of having to stay in Westview as Agnes was fantastic. I do think that they're definitely hinting at a return in Multiverse of Madness for her. Like, they were strongly hinting at it, I feel, where she was like, oh, you're gonna need me. And I really hope that she does return. The entire Scarlet Witch myth, I wish that we learned more about it, but I did like the teases. I loved the Darkhold returning, even though I think that this makes Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways non-canon because it looked completely different, and Agatha seems like she's had it for a really long time. But I really can't wait to find out more about witchcraft in the MCU and hopefully see Agatha return in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So switching over to supporting characters, let's get the elephant out of the room. Fake Pietro was just Ralph, and his name was a crude joke. Now, I thought that joke was funny. I don't care that he was a nobody. I'm glad he was a nobody. I did not want him to be X-Men Quicksilver, but people are so angry over this, and I understand why. Like, they told us that this movie leads directly into a movie about the multiverse, so of course people assumed that the actor playing the same version of, like, his character was going to actually be that character. However, again, people got way too into that fan theory, and they're taking it way too far online. I'm not upset about that, but I do think it was really wrong of them to, like, introduce him in 5, have him be a main part of 6, tease him in an end credit scene in 7, talk about him in 8, and then throw him away in 9. Like, If he was going to be a nobody, he should have been thrown away in 7 or 8 at the latest. Like, you didn't need to drag it out so long. So I definitely get why people are upset. For Monica, I really think that, again, she had such a huge role in 7, finally getting powers and everything, and then she just drops out of the story completely. In this episode, all she did was, like, clear up Ralph's true identity, which that should not have been something that took up time in this episode. And then she stood in front of the kids and had a cool moment there. I really loved that use of her powers there. I'm really glad that they're not blue. And again, that was a great scene. But she just did nothing. I don't understand. Like, they just really dropped the ball so hard on certain things in the finale. And if the finale was just a little bit longer, they could have fixed this stuff. Because 50 minutes, 7 of which are credits, is way too short of a finale. So I'm really bothered by that. I did love the Skrull end credits scene. I was really hoping that there would be Skrulls here. And so I love that scene. I do think that gave her a little bit of a better resolution, because I think it teases her going to space to set up Sword with Nick Fury, like in the Far From Home end credits scene. And I really hope that she's in Secret Invasion so that we can see her powers develop even more. Jimmy and Darcy were pretty mishandled as well, in my opinion. Jimmy was okay, and then he had like that nice leadership moment in the end credits scene. But Darcy just dropping out of the story after her importance in 4, 5, and 6, and 7, that was just ridiculous. Like, she had one scene. Like, it was great that she got to nail Hayward with the truck, but the fact that she just dropped out of the show and they were just like, oh yeah, she doesn't want to be here, that's beyond dumb to me, again, because you need to give resolution to your characters and not just have them drop out with no explanation. Like, they've done that with too many characters, or too little explanation. They've done that with too many characters in this finale. And to finish out the characters, Hayward was a very weak villain. Like, I don't understand him at all. He had no motivation. He seemed to, like, really hate Wanda. Like, he was vilifying her to an extreme and really trying to kill her. And they never gave any motivation for that. The only thing they hinted at was that he had a hard time during, like, the blip. They should have established a motivation for him, because, like I was talking to my friend and she was like, oh, seeing him in handcuffs in the end credit scene, I was like, yeah, he's in handcuffs. And then she was like, wait, why do we hate him? Like, why was he a bad guy? And I'm like, yeah, he had no reason to be a bad guy, and he was so, like, evil. Like, he tried shooting 10-year-old children in the head. Like, I don't know. Hayward really needed a motivation, because he just makes no sense to me, and he really served no purpose in this story. A lot like Sword. Sword had no backstory, no reason to be here at all. Like, they could have just been the FBI. And so that really bothers me, because that stuff could have been established in episode 4. It could have been established before the finale, but it could have been established in the finale if they really wanted to wait. So once again, like, it just comes down to, like, a problem of, like, episode length, in my opinion. And now we're getting to my main problem with the show, is that everything was overhyped. They told us this leads directly into Multiverse of Madness, so people expected more. They expected the multiverse. They expected Doctor Strange to cameo. Scoopers confirmed that he would cameo. It seems like Benedict Cumberbatch did film something that was ultimately cut. I don't know why it would have been cut, so that's really weird to me. But I didn't need a Doctor Strange cameo. I'm not disappointed about that. I'm a little sad he didn't show up, but, like, it didn't need it. It wouldn't have added anything to the story. It would have just been cool for fans. But the problem is, like, Teyonah Parris hyped up the aerospace engineer. Paul Bettany hyped up the cameo. That ended up being himself, which is fine. It's a funny joke, but, like, everyone built this up so much, and then it just wasn't as much as everyone expected. Like, even with Multiverse of Madness, they said it leads directly in. I think that they should have made it clear that it leads Wanda directly in. It leads Wanda to the point where she starts Multiverse of Madness. But they made it sound like the plots would directly connect. And yes, fans are irresponsible for taking their fan theories to an extreme and running away with it. But in my opinion, like, the creators of the show, the crew, the cast, everyone around it also could have just been a little bit more careful about how they phrased it. Because this was the first show that connects to the movies properly. And so we didn't know what to expect, and they kind of just made it seem like it would connect a lot more than it actually did. Beyond the fan theories, though, they also kept saying that the series was 6 hours. Now, when it's all said and done, WandaVision is 5 hours and 40 minutes, including over an hour of credits. To me, that's also a little bit ridiculous. Yes, I understand why the credits are 7 minutes long. These are huge movie length, like movie style productions, okay? I get why there's so many people to credit, but it seems kind of insane to say that this show is 6 hours long when really it's 4.5 hours minus the credits. That really bothers me, because it's like, They didn't need to set that expectation. They could have just said it's 6 episodes, it's 9 episodes. They didn't need to say how long it was and make us think it would be that long. And so that personally really bothers me. Because, like, yes, credits count towards runtime. You know, like, Endgame is 3 hours and 2 minutes, probably 10 plus of which are credits. But, like, Endgame had 10 minutes of credits. It did not have an hour and 3 minutes of credits. And so that's, again, just absolutely ridiculous to me that they told us 6 hours when it's, like, really, like, 2/3 of that. And the thing is, like, so many of my problems would be fixed with more time. Like, they never acknowledge the hexagons, right? Like, Jimmy was literally asking, why is everything hexagonal? We never find out. We don't know anything about the missing person that he went to Westview to investigate. I mean, it could just be a random person, but, like, I still think that's interesting, right? Like, why would someone be in the witness protection program in some sleepy New Jersey town? There's no motivation for the villains, like I said. We barely had any powers from the twins and Monica. Like, they just kept teasing us. I really would have liked to see, like, Monica fire off a blast, for the twins to actually fight the soldiers for more than 10 seconds. And so all of that stuff, those aren't fan theories. Those are all things that you expect from the show. Stuff like the engineer, stuff like the missing person. Those are all things that they brought up in the show that should not have been brought up if they're never going to be addressed again. And so it's crazy to me that, like, the writers just dropped so many plot threads and so many characters like they didn't matter. And that's what's really bothering me. That's what's making the finale disappointing to me, even though it was still fantastic and had, like, great fight scenes and was a great conclusion to the show. As for Lego set ideas, I finally cracked the code for what I think Lego's going to do. I think that we're going to get minifigures of Wanda in her new Scarlet Witch outfit, really hoping for a new mold for the hairpiece, including the headpiece. Then I think that we're going to get Vision, probably a repeat Infinity War figure, White Vision, because they do seem to be pushing him in, like, the Funko and Hasbro merchandise. And then I really hope that we get a minifigure of Agatha Harkness in her full witch outfit. I'd love to see the Darkhold as an accessory. Just a stickered book piece is fine with me. And I would really like to see trans-purple power blasts or power burst pieces for Agatha. As for the build, I could honestly see them just doing a sword vehicle like one of those trucks. But ideally, I would love to see the gazebo build, like, with an exploding function, maybe a section of the library for Vision and White Vision to fight, and then, like, the billboard for Agatha. So, like, kind of my dream $35 set, because that's the price of the Disney Plus set coming out in August, would be those 4 minifigures, those accessories, the exploding gazebo, and then, like, a billboard for Agatha to stand in front of, maybe with another exploding function. I bet that Lego's going to go the vehicle route, though, even if they don't include, like, an actual sword agent. So we'll just have to see, but I really hope that in a $35 set we can get 4 new minifigures with 1 new mold, because we did get 3 new minifigures, and 1 with a new mold out of 4 figures in, like, the Black Panther Royal Talon Fighter attack set. So I'm hoping that we see that. I really want a minifigure of White Vision. I really want a minifigure of Agatha. Those are probably the 2 that I want the most, because Wanda in her Scarlet Witch outfit I think is definitely a given for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for those sets. I want to make it clear that I do love the finale to WandaVision. I think that it was perfect for Wanda herself. Like, those scenes, like her goodbye with Vision, that's so perfectly heartbreaking, easily, like, one of the top 5 scenes in the entire MCU. I loved the battles, especially her fight with Agatha. I still thought Agatha was a fantastic villain, even though I do think she should have been more developed. And forget the fan theories for a second, because maybe fans did expect too much out of this series. I feel like that was fueled, as I said, by, like, the cast and the crew. But even beyond that, I really just hate how storylines were dropped so much, because I want to call the finale a 10 out of 10, but really, like, the highest I could give it is, like, an 8, because it just drops so many character threads out of nowhere. And that really bothers me. The thing is that the finale of WandaVision has all of the problems of, like, an MCU movie that doesn't develop its ideas enough, because the MCU is fantastic. But, like, whenever it tries, like, going, like, deeper into, like, really cool ideas, like Ragnarok with, like, imperialism, there's just not enough time to develop it, and I'm not mad about it. But the thing is that with a TV show like this, you should have enough time to develop it, because now you're breaking out of that movie format. And that's my biggest problem with WandaVision, is that they didn't take the time to fully develop anything besides Wanda and Vision themselves. And that's extremely disappointing because, especially in episode 7 with Monica, it really seemed like they were going there like pretty much with everyone. And so I'm kind of sad to see that in the end, only Wanda and Vision came out of this like absolutely completely fleshed out and perfect. The show is about them, so I'm very happy that I got what I wanted for Wanda out of this series. I am just disappointed at the things that the series did earlier that weren't carried through to the finale. I do want to do a weekly series like this for all of the other MCU Disney Plus shows, so I'm going to continue that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier in about 2 weeks. I don't think the other series will be as disappointing as some people feel right now, because we know what to expect going forwards. We know how much it'll connect to the movies now that we have like WandaVision as a baseline. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for sticking with my weekly WandaVision videos, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Bye for now.